not see me again until the Titans face their reckoning. But to you, Viranath, I offer one final warning. Stay out of my way.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. You know, for the longest while, we've been hyping up Iridikron, the leader of the Incarnates, dragons who rejected the Titans for, honestly, pretty legit reasons, and then were imprisoned for their war and conflict, which I guess is also fair if it was for a reasonable time. Oh. Yeah. What the f? Yeah, he's this absolute badass who's a rival to Neltharion. He's the leader of the Incarnates, like I mentioned, and a legit mastermind for war and conflict, sowing the seeds for what comes next and predicting what comes next, using even the void as a method for his own success, but not being consumed by it like so many others. And the one and potentially only, to my memory, besides maybe Arthas, of an antagonist who's seen us as a threat before, not to be underestimated.
Do not underestimate them, Farak. Our sister's overconfidence was her downfall.
And it's he who has big plans in store for the Titan Pantheon upon their return. Nothing good, by the way. I will not be shy when I say Iridikron is probably my favorite villain in Warcraft since the likes of Garrosh or Gul'dan. They've done an amazing job of setting him up to be a big player in the game of this cosmic war. But as much as I'm giving this guy a Tower of Flowers for his few appearances, how the hell is he going to take down the Titan Pantheon? Arguably one of the biggest powerhouses in the entire cosmos right now, only to be taken down by one of their own, Sargeras. Yes, Iridikron is strong, at least strong enough to take on the dragon aspects right now, even when they were empowered too within the past. Stronger than the other Incarnates as well, but he's not Titan level strong either. At least not yet. Well, I've got the answers, or rather, my own guesses as to how Iridikron will end the Titans. It should go without saying that the Dark Heart is an item that's been heavily tied to Iridikron since it was first introduced. Originally perceived as just an item to lead them into Abyss, that Iridikron somehow knew the location of, probably was on a list that Xal'atath gave him upon their meeting, or before his jailbreak. Darkheart is the precursor of the Dragon Soul, created by Neltharion to house a tremendous power and be used for his own machinations, but for whatever reason was scrapped and left to rot under a statue of Neltharion's own likeness. And Neltharion turned to other matters of creating a more perfected Dragon Soul. One I guess that wouldn't break so easily, outside of his own scales. It was Iridikron who traveled back in time with the aid of the infinite dragonflights to empower the relic using Galakrond's own essence, a hunger lost to the ages, losing its golden hue in favor of that lovely purple now. The Dark Heart, now empowered, was handed over to Xal'atath for her own ends and her own goals within the present. You know, looking back on this script, I just realized that the Dark Heart is already kind of a reflection of the Dragon Soul. We traveled back in time to grab the Dragon Soul when it was stable and not broken, and Iridikron goes back in time to fetch an empowerment of his own for his own present-day Dark Heart, or Dragon Soul, for his own methods. Kind of just interesting. Just wanted to point that out. I just realized it. And before that, Iridikron gives a whole speech about how this very relic will break down Azeroth's own World Soul for Team Void and cause the Titans to return in a panic. And to Iridikron's credit, the Dark Heart has absorbed the power of Xal'atath, one of the biggest threats to Azeroth in its early age, after being corrupted by Yogg-Saron. The entire arcane city of Dalaran was also consumed, and was just gone without much of a trace. And now, Beledar, and its own weird infusion of the light and the void, is also now in the Dark Heart, seemingly. It seems to have the power to consume practically everything and anything, much like the Dragon Soul kinda did. It's hard to say if Xal'atath has anything else on that rather ominous shopping list of hers for the Dark Heart, but we'll not really know for the time being, as the relic was shattered for a bit and restored by Galawix, by him and his goblins, and then stolen by the Ethereals to do whatever they want near Koresh. I do think, so long as things aren't too derailed with Xal'atath and her own plans with the Dark Heart, that the relic is at least the key to corrupting Azeroth and forcing the Titans to shift their eyes from Sargeras and back onto our own little important planet. And if the Dark Heart in its early stages is capable of just taking out Dalaran with ease, one has to wonder what it can do to Titans or other powerful entities. If it can indeed corrupt or wound Azeroth, or do whatever it is that Iridikron is saying that it can do. Then yeah, I think it can do the same to the Titan Pantheon. But I'm also under the impression that Iridikron maybe wouldn't have given up so easily to Xal'atath then. While their goals do align right now, both definitely give off the impression of not fully trusting the other. Maybe he knew it was best to let Xal'atath be the one to gain the power, and have everyone's eyes and ears on her. And maybe she's really the only one who can get this domino row knocked over. But still, with how fragile the relic is, and how its intent is to only corrupt Azeroth, I think the Dark Heart currently is only meant to get the ball rolling, not the ball finishing. That sounds dirty, ew. Anyways, I think the Dark Heart is only one method for Iridikron's victory. Let's see what else he might do. Surprisingly, Azeroth does have at least 2 or 3 objects on the planet that have either wounded a Titan or just straight up killed a Titan. The Dark Heart seemingly, and the Axe of Cenarius, of course. But what about the third one? Okay, yeah, it not only wounded some Titans, but it killed many Titans back in its day. Even if their deaths didn't exactly last forever. Yes, the Sword of Sargeras is that very object. That sword. Sitting within Azeroth's very earth. Still unmoved and still untouched. As you know already, there are very few entities that have actually slain a Titan on their own. While the champions of Azeroth did take out both Argus, and before that, a weakened avatar of Aggramar, we also had some help with the Titans when facing the full power of Argus, which I do tend to wonder how powerful Argus was given his upbringing. Sargeras, however, he took out the entire Titan Pantheon with ease with his own sword and might. They've already died to this thing, as he was their strongest champion who had slewn countless demons and other threats. With this very sword, countless Titans fell, and now the very sword still rests within our very own planet's crust, when Sargeras, in his own final act of freedom, struck at the heart of our very world. Luckily, we didn't die. So here is one such item that carried the strength of a Titan with its every swing, just collecting dust within Xal'atath. And where does it reside in? In the Earth. What does Iridikron have power over? The Earth. It's my own speculation that Iridikron will use this power over the Earth to lift out the blade and manage to somehow kill at least one or maybe several Titans with it. Specifically Norgannon, maybe, who was responsible for saving them from death last time. It would be a tremendous feat and a tremendous task, but it wouldn't be out of his reach, I think. I just assume he wouldn't be able to take out too many of them unless they're standing in a line very stupidly. Of course, then it would be a matter of how would he kill the other Titans if he only kills or slays one. The Dark Heart seems to have a better chance of taking out multiple at once, and unless Iridikron can bend the sword better to his will, then I'm unsure if the sword is as effective as I say it is. I do think the sword could play a role in some form though in all of this. Maybe not wielded by Iridikron, but somebody else. Azeroth maybe? Or something else. Alternatively, perhaps Iridikron could still somehow find the means to absorb the sword's power into himself, much like how his brother Farak consumed the Shadow Flame. We do know that the Fel is super effective against the Titans, so maybe that'll be his goal. But as much as I like the sword theory, I do think it has its own holes as stated. So maybe it's just one method to his goal. What about the last one? That's right, we are Iridikron's ace in the hole. As before, Iridikron quickly took notice that we are indeed a threat to him, a threat to Xal'atath, and before all that, we were the Titans' best. We were their ace in the hole. But now, Iridikron was the first to maybe attempt to get us to see things how he saw them. Maybe he was ineffective, maybe he wasn't. But the point is, things have changed. We're no longer blindly working for the Titans simply because their goals align with ours. Now we're asking questions. Now we're in opposition to them, as they may very well rob us of our freedoms. In a twisted way, I think Iridikron has meddled with the chessboard. Before, we were fighting for the Titans because we thought that they had our best interests and Azeroth's best interests at heart. Now things are a little bit more gray. Azeroth doesn't seem too keen on them either. The Aspects don't seem too keen on them. And now, I think that we're in the same boat. I think we're the weapons that Iridikron is going to turn on the Titans. We've already proven to be effective against Old Gods, Eternal Ones, Demon Lords, Dragon Aspects, Titan Keepers, and even the Titans themselves to an extent, like with Argus and Agrimar. When the Titans come back, do you think they're honestly going to be fine with how we've run things? How well we've kept their world safe? I think a lot of Titans will view us as the problem. In fact, a lot of Azeroth's own issues do stem from the meddling of mortals. It's from that lens that I think the Titans will have enough, and will ultimately war with us, eventually. Giving Iridikron exactly what he wants, the most effective champions on the planet, fighting the Titan Pantheon that he knows they're his best chance at beating or at least weakening. This isn't the first time he's used a third party to war against his enemies or distract them. He's used Sarkarath, Xal'atath, and even his own brother Farak to get the eyes off of him and onto another. And I think it'll jump from Xal'atath to us with the Titans, or vice versa with us glaring at the Titans instead. I don't think Iridikron is doing this for our betterment, or Azeroth's, by the way. After all, he seemed pretty okay with letting the Void injure or corrupt it if it meant he got a swing at the Titans, and I do think that holds true still. He's not our friend, he's not our buddy, or isn't yet. He will only be our ally if it means that he gets a shot to kill the Titans. And then what? Well, even I don't think he's thought that far ahead. But I think that at the end of the day, he wants the Titans gone, and I do think that he'll find the means to make that happen somehow. Probably what he's doing right now, wherever he is. But what are your thoughts here exactly? Do you think that Iridikron will use the Dark Heart, Gorobol, or us to beat the Titans? Or do you think that he's got something else he's cooking? Let me know down below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to hear more from me and my community, feel free to join us in our Discord. Or if you like me enough, please support me on my Patreon like these amazing folks here. You can also hit that join button too. All helps in keeping this channel alive and well. But until next time, my friends, hiya!